It's hard to believe that I'm sitting down to write this story, but here I am, trying to process how my life turned upside down after 17 years of what I thought was a solid marriage. My wife and I built everything together. A family with 3 beautiful kids and an old house that we've been slowly renovating over the past couple of years. Money has always been tight, with mounting debt and no savings to speak of, but we managed to get by, supporting each other through it all. When I first met my wife, we were both inexperienced in relationships. She was my first and only partner, while she had a few brief encounters before me. I always thought this made our bond special. We grew together, learned together, and faced life's challenges side by side. She was the light of my life, my partner through thick and thin. We weathered storms together, and I genuinely believe we were one of those rare couples who would stick together no matter what life threw at us. However, life has a way of sneaking up on you. Between juggling full-time jobs, working on our house, and raising our 3 kids, we slowly started to lose ourselves. The mounting financial pressures and health issues didn't help either. My wife struggled with her weight for years, and I could see how it affected her self-esteem, watching it crumble day by day. We both battled depression, but instead of communicating our struggles, we retreated into our own worlds. I lost myself in computer games while she became increasingly attached to her phone. This past spring, things began to shift. My wife started spending more time with her friends and going out to parties while I stayed home with the kids. I told myself it was good for her to blow off some steam and that maybe she'd come home happier, but deep down, something felt off. Then came the rumor. Someone claimed to have seen her kissing a stranger at a dance in a nearby town. When I confronted her about it, she insisted that the guy had tried to kiss her, but she pushed him away. I wanted to believe her so badly, and I forced myself to accept her explanation, not wanting to come off as a jealous or controlling husband. As summer progressed, the changes became impossible to ignore. She became incredibly protective of her phone, always keeping it close and angled away from me. One night in August, I happened to catch a glimpse of her Facebook password, and something inside me snapped. The gut feeling I had been suppressing for months finally won out, and I decided to look into her accounts. What I found shattered my world completely. Not only was the kissing incident at the dance reel, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. Through her messages, I discovered that she had been having intimate online conversations with 2 men from other countries. It started innocently on Instagram, with some guys sending her compliments, but within weeks, it escalated into something I never thought my wife would do. She was sharing private photos with them, making plans about potential meetings, and becoming emotionally invested in these virtual relationships. What truly broke me, however, was finding messages about a local married man with kids. They had met during a 2-day town festival in July, where she claimed to be on a girls' trip with her friend. That friend had ended up in the hospital with a panic attack that night, leaving my wife alone in their rented room. That's when this man, a married father from our small town, came into the picture. I sat on this knowledge for days, trying to keep it together for our kids while my world was falling apart. I couldn't pretend everything was fine anymore. On a Saturday in late August, I asked my mother to watch the kids. When my wife returned home that evening from her work-related classes, I calmly asked her to sit down with me. There was no yelling, no cursing. Just 2 sad people sitting across from each other, one of them hurt and angry, trying to understand what had gone wrong. We talked through the night. She swore that nothing physical had happened with the local man, and claimed that the online interactions were just her way of trying to feel better about herself. While she didn't blame me directly, she said she thought I had stopped loving her due to her weight struggles. When these guys started showering her with compliments, she admitted to getting addicted to the attention. She confessed to sending them private photos just to keep the compliments coming, but at that moment, I wanted to believe her. We agreed to try fixing our marriage and started seeing a counselor. The weeks that followed seemed promising. She became more affectionate, our intimacy improved, and we spent more quality time together. Still, there was a nagging feeling in my gut that wouldn't go away. I knew there was more to the story. It wasn't until our second counseling session that the full truth came out. My wife finally admitted what I had feared most. She had slept with the local man that night in July. Even worse, she had met him twice afterward for what she claimed were brief encounters, which included kissing. The most painful part was that she had tried to contact him again just days after confessing to me. In that moment, I felt as if my entire world had crumbled. The life we built together, the love I thought we shared, all shattered into pieces. I was left grappling with feelings of betrayal, sadness, and confusion, trying to figure out how to move forward when everything I thought I knew about our marriage had been turned on its head. In August, I confronted my wife about the infidelity that had shattered our lives. When she finally confessed, I felt paralyzed, unable to react with anger or violence. Instead, I sat there, grappling with a bewildering mix of emotions: relief at finally learning the truth and profound humiliation over what had transpired. The pain of betrayal was unlike anything I had ever experienced, cutting deeper than I could have imagined. I didn't throw my wedding ring at her or seek out the other man. I understood that he wasn't the one who broke our marriage vows. She was. The woman sitting across from me felt like a complete stranger. The person I had thought I knew so well would never have done something so hurtful. Throughout the conversation, she repeated that she had been selfish and stupid, expressing her deep remorse for the pain she caused me. She promised to do anything to repair our marriage and earn back my trust. But how could I ever trust her again? The idea of looking at her, as I once did, seemed impossible. Despite still having feelings for her, 17 years of love don't just disappear overnight. I was haunted by the betrayal. I remembered all the moments of joy we shared, and now they felt tainted by this deep ache in my heart. I wanted to make things work for the sake of our children, and because of our precarious financial situation, which made divorce a daunting prospect. Yet, I began to wonder if staying in the marriage would mean sacrificing my self-respect. How could I forgive someone who didn't just make a one-time mistake, but actively chose to pursue relationships with multiple people? Her actions were not merely physical. She had engaged in emotional and sexual connections with 2 other men online for over 2 months, planning to meet them. It felt like a complete betrayal of everything we had built together over nearly 2 decades. After discussing my feelings with close friends and reading supportive messages, I finally found the courage to trust my instincts. Deep down, I knew I could never truly move past what she had done. Last Thursday, I sat her down and told her I wanted to end our marriage. To my surprise, she didn't seem shocked or try to persuade me otherwise. Instead, she repeated that nothing I said could change her mind, tears streaming down her face. She called in sick to work that day, and we began informing our closest friends and family about the divorce. However, she hesitated to tell her parents the real reason for our split. I decided to keep the truth from them for now, although my mother was aware of everything. When we met her parents last Sunday to drop off 2 of our kids for the school holiday, we framed the situation as having unsolvable disagreements. I felt terrible about deceiving them, as they had been like second parents to me for almost 17 years, always supporting us both emotionally and financially. Their disappointment was palpable, and I know I'll have to come clean eventually. Living in a small town complicates things further. I don't want the reasons for our divorce to become public knowledge, which could eventually reach our kids and lead to bullying. I'd rather keep the truth within our close circle and let everyone else believe we simply grew apart. Plus, I dread the thought of being labeled as the man whose wife cheated on him with multiple men. Now, we are facing the practicalities of separation, selling our house, and finding separate apartments. We've agreed to share custody, alternating weeks with the kids. I feel strongly that their legal address should remain with me. It wouldn't be fair for me to pay child support after everything that happened. Still, I know that in our country, mothers often get what they want, as people tend to sympathize with them. Regardless, I'm determined to fight for my children. The hardest part, though, isn't the logistics. It's witnessing my life plans crumble. For 17 years, I thought I knew who I was married to, and now I find myself questioning if I ever truly knew her at all. Sometimes, I catch myself missing the woman I believe she was, but then I remind myself that perhaps that person never really existed. The kids are handling the situation better than I anticipated, but I can see confusion in their eyes. They're too young to understand the real reasons behind our separation, and I hope they never have to. I'm focusing on being the best dad I can be, ensuring they know they are loved and that none of this is their fault. As for myself, I'm taking things one day at a time. Some mornings, I wake up feeling strong and certain about my decision. Other days, I question everything. But then I recall the betrayal, the lies, the secret messages, and I remind myself that I made the right choice. My friends reassure me that I will eventually find someone better, someone who deserves my trust. Right now, that's the last thing on my mind. My priority is healing, rebuilding my life, and being present for my kids. This is not the ending I wanted for my marriage, but perhaps it's the ending I needed to rediscover myself. The road ahead seems daunting and uncertain, yet for the first time in months, I feel liberated by my honesty. Even amidst the pain, there's a sense of freedom in no longer pretending.